Another day, another almost all-time high in the overall market. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at what the next steps are. We're going to take a look at the large tech stocks, how they affect the overall market. We're going to take a look at the SP500, the NASDAQ, crypto, the VIX, all that good stuff. All right, so without further ado, let's get started with the video. First and foremost, it's actually been a while since I updated you guys on what's going on in the Discord. We are on a complete and absolute utter tear. We have made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 trades in the past couple of days. Every single trade has worked out. As you can see, these are the percentage gains. The results speak for themselves. You can't really fake this stuff. So I hope you guys, take a step, try to join, see exactly what's going on, and let the numbers speak for themselves. You guys gain access to my trades. You guys gain access to my TradingView indicators, my thought process, and my analysis throughout the day. And it's, the analysis that I do on a daily time frame, right? You can apply that same analysis on a 1-minute time frame. It just happens way faster, and there's just more information to look at. But this is what I do. So that's why it works out so well. So if you guys want to take the plunge and make trading easier for you, there's no better place to do it. So if you guys want access, click the link down below. You guys could even use the code and get 30% off. So I hope to see you guys there. Let's get started with the rest of the video. All right, first and foremost, we're simply going to just start off with Apple. All right, so Apple, as you can see, we are creating a bull flag, tapping at the 260 level of resistance. Is this a really fluid... Is this a really fluid, like, oh my God, they're moving up and down? No, it's not. It's consolidating at a level of resistance. This is not giving us a whole lot of information. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be going down the list of all of these large tech stocks to see what story they're trying to tell us. Apple is currently telling us that this is a bull flag, right? Bull flags are generally bullish situations, but the issue is that we haven't really gotten a solid pullback down to 250. We haven't really tried to test any of these major support levels to really confirm, like, hey, this is a really good level of support. It's going to bounce. We haven't gotten that yet, which is the issue right now. So Apple is not really telling us a whole lot. It's really just stagnating. Like, this is, it closed within $1 for the past 3 days in a row, which is not normal. So goes to show how choppy Apple currently is right now. All right, this is a daily time frame of Amazon. What story is Amazon trying to tell us? What is going on with Amazon? Amazon, this is not the most bullish setup. This is also not the most bearish setup. Very, very simply, it needs to hold 216.50. Okay? Needs to hold this level of support. We might get a pullback close to 217. We might get a pullback literally off of the hair of this level of support, but it needs to hold. And if it holds, we could end up seeing 226, 224 area on Amazon here, which is obviously a very decent risk to reward ratio. The indicator showed a really nice short signal up here at the top. Do I want to start going short down here? Probably not. This is not really the time to start leaning short. And for that reason, you got to start looking for long opportunities. So that's currently what the situation is on Amazon. And we just came out of a overextension to the downside in terms of the Bollinger Band as well. Lots of reasons to be looking for some longs. Okay? The momentum is still bearish, but you have to start leaning a bit long. You have to start looking for some long opportunities on Amazon. Netflix, not doing really much anything, honestly. This is just a waste of time. It's not really even giving us a good long opportunity. Instead, it's giving us a head and shoulders at a level of support with a bear flag. That's what Netflix is giving us. So we're getting a bearish situation with a larger bearish situation But overall, man, the market is really trying to, it's really trying to just hold 1200. That's the issue right now. 1190 is holding as a level of support. Do I want to go short here? No, I would rather just look for long opportunities. Personally, that's what's going on. Regardless of how bearish the situation is on Netflix right now, I would rather be looking for long opportunities, in my opinion. That's currently what the situation is on Netflix. Google. So yesterday I was showing how Google was posting a really ugly bearish situation. It was not a good spot to go long. We ended up falling even lower. But what was the level that ended up holding? 240. 240 bounced very perfectly, and we ended up closing almost at the highs. This is the issue. This is currently the issue. So we're going to also take a look at Meta after this. But let's just take a break and take inventory of what's going on in the market so far. Apple is showing some sort of bullishness. Netflix, Google, so far, there's not that much. There's not a whole lot so far from what we've just seen, right? We're going to eventually take a look at Meta, NVDA, Tesla, right? But so far, Amazon, so far, it's not giving us that much information, which is a large issue in terms of judging which direction the market wants to go as a whole, which is interesting, right? So Google, technically, it's holding 240. Very, very important, major level of support. With that being said, we have room to 245, 246 if this 240 level holds. And, clearly this is bottoming out a bit. This is a falling wedge pattern at some top formation here, and it could end up bouncing. That's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. That's currently what's going on Google. So the one stock that I did want to go long on actually earlier in the day was Microsoft. So Microsoft looked pretty good. It started to look pretty good, and then it ended up just getting a bit away from us. Missed it, right? So I didn't bother getting into any swings on Microsoft. The reason why I really like Microsoft is, once again, it's basically forming a cup and handle, right? It's a cup and handle. It stagnated at around 500, 505. This was, just held support really well, and now it looks like it wants to bounce. So Microsoft looks pretty decent compared to a lot of these other names that we're seeing. And they ended up closing on the highs. Whether it continues or not is yet to be seen. But I hope it doesn't gap up, and I hope we don't regret not getting in. But regardless, Microsoft looks like it has room to 525, 526. These prior highs definitely look like they can be retested on Microsoft here. So Meta, right? I was showing how yesterday Meta was painting a very bearish picture. It was not a good spot to go long. I said, yeah, you could be a psychopath and you could try to go long with a tight stop loss, but the 720s and 730 would end up being tested, right? So that's exactly what ended up happening. 725 was the low for the day. We posted some more weakness, made another low, and just Meta looks weak. So that's why I really don't want to, I still wouldn't really want to enter long on Meta at the moment. What is interesting, though, is the lower level of the Bollinger Band is flat, and the upper level of the Bollinger Band on Meta are both flat. So if we get a monster move to the downside tomorrow, and we end up closing and really holding outside of the lower bands, that could end up being a pretty solid long opportunity, in my opinion, on Meta. And we're just going to monitor that. Tesla looks like it wants to rip. Tesla looks like it wants to really, really bounce. It's holding above 440 really, really well. This is setting up for a really, really monstrous move to the upside, honestly. It just looks really bullish. I would not want to go short into this weakness, honestly, this strength. It looks like 438, 440 level really, really wants to hold. And then from here, 460, 470 should be on the table. With that being said, as Tesla rises, this is going to help the overall market. So far, what we've seen is a lot of these tech stocks are not giving that much indication. But what we are going to end up seeing is the chips are doing really well. Because the chips are doing really well, Microsoft is starting to do some damage to the upside because ChatGPT is Microsoft, right? And to run ChatGPT, you need NVIDIA. You need these chip companies to manage the GPUs that ChatGPT runs on. So that is currently what's going on in the overall market. AI-related stocks are continuing to be the biggest winners. And what's going on right now is Tesla is looking pretty decent. Apple is creating a bull flag. I would not want to go short Tesla at the moment right now. The chips. So NVIDIA, new high. NVIDIA ripped and it ended up. So yesterday's candle, right? Let's take inventory of what's going on. Yesterday's candle showed some instability to the upside. This was a major level of resistance. And then we ended up wicking at these prior highs, right? Today, we really ripped to the upside. And it, we ended up bouncing straight off of this very important fib level at 187. Above this, there is clear skies to 200 plus. So we're going to need to see if 188 can hold. But so far, NVIDIA is, this is what we need to see. NVIDIA to continue rising. If NVIDIA can hold 185, then this is going to help lift the overall market up, to be honest. This is pretty strong. That's that so far with NVIDIA. Let's take a look at AMD. So what's interesting with AMD is that this is at a level of support. It's at a level of support, whereas NVIDIA is at highs, making new highs. So AMD has a lot more room to go to the upside in terms of catching up to where NVIDIA is. With that being said, if NVIDIA can continue to rise, AMD is going to end up bouncing as well. And this is going to be a really interesting spot to be long, in my opinion, on AMD. This is it's an interesting spot to be bullish on chips as well. So I really like it, to be honest. This is if 158, 159 area can hold on AMD, we should end up seeing 165 plus. This is one of my more favorite long-term potential moves, potential plays as well for AMD here. So yesterday I was showing how the VIX looked bullish, right? The VIX is generally very important to look at because it has an inverse relationship to the overall market. If the VIX rises, the overall market should be falling. What's interesting today is that the VIX was green and the overall market was green. That generally does not happen. That's not a sustainable thing to occur in the overall market. Just this alone shows potential weakness in the overall market. So this is one of the warning signals, in my opinion, in the market. The fact that the VIX is green and closed green while the overall market is also green. So keep that in mind. $17 on the VIX is a major level of resistance. If we end up ripping above this $17 level of resistance on the VIX, that's going to be very bearish for the overall market. We should get a continued pullback. What is interesting, though, on the VIX is that the upper level of the Bollinger Band is moving lower, right? As you can see, it's moving lower. This shows that if we have an explosive move to the upside, we are already going to be overextended to the upside in terms of the Bollinger Band. What do we know about something like this? We know that when this occurs, stocks generally don't like to trade outside of the upper or the lower level of the Bollinger Band. For example, here, right? We were very far overextended to the upside and we reversed back, which means that if we reverse back on the VIX, that means that the overall market is going to bounce because things have an inverse relationship. So if we end up getting a strong bounce in the VIX and then a pullback afterward, that means the overall market should be rising as we get a pullback on the VIX. Let's see what ends up happening. In the short term, it does look like it wants to continue to climb. And in the short term, right, the fact that the VIX and the overall market are both green for the day, not the best sign, okay? Not the best sign for bulls on the stock market. Now, with that being said, this is a chart of the S&P 500 ES futures. We are stagnating at this 6,700 level of resistance, 6,728. This is automatically not really an amazing short, right? In the after hours, we're going to have to see if we end up holding below this level, right? We could use this level as a stop loss and to go short. That's currently what the setup is on the S&P. And then if this 6710 level breaks to the downside, then this is going to give way to a massive drop lower, in my opinion. So that is currently what I'm looking at on the S&P 500 futures. For the NASDAQ, you can see that we're trading below the important trend line, whereas the S&P was basically trading above it, right? The NASDAQ is currently trading below it. And again, you know, this is not an automatic reason to be extremely bearish, but it's, you know, it's trying to set up for a bit of a bearish move. Just purely looking at the indices, that's currently what I'm looking at, honestly. It's tough. Like, in terms of a day trade, right? In terms of purely a day trade, off of a setup like this, we're either going to explode to the upside very, very aggressively, or it's going to stagnate a bit, and then it's going to give a really solid shorting opportunity and then get a massive drop lower. I would not want to take any single trade right now. I would rather be greedy and wait for a bit move higher, and then we'll make a decision afterward. So in terms of a day trade, I would not be entering any trade right now. It's setting up for an explosive move to the upside. So I would take lotto calls up here. If we end up breaking lower, then we would take normal position size into puts. So that's currently what I'm looking at on the NASDAQ. And the overall market, just in general, like the NASDAQ needs a miracle. It needs a miracle. And if it doesn't, then this level of resistance and these highs from this wick are going to act as a level of resistance, and it's going to be a shorting opportunity. All right, I hope that makes sense. Bitcoin, look, we're going to end up making some money on Bitcoin in a couple months. This is looking like it wants to really rip to the upside, but it needs to happen quick. If Bitcoin does not rip and it does not hold 113, basically it's going to stagnate, and then 112 might end up being breached. It needs to happen quick. These moves on crypto as a whole, Bitcoin, Solana, once again, they need to happen quick. I don't know what's going to occur this week, but if these moves do not occur quickly, then we're going to end up stagnating and falling. But overall, right, it sounds very dramatic, right? It's like, oh, if this doesn't happen, then we're going to fall. I understand that. But specifically, right, what we're looking at on Bitcoin, what we're looking at on the NASDAQ, they are both trying to rip to the upside. And they're tapping on levels of resistance, and it really, really wants to rip. They all want to really, really rip to the upside. This is a falling wedge pattern. We broke to the upside, retested a major level of support. We should continue. So that's currently what I'm looking at on Bitcoin, crypto market, the overall market. You know, just an honorable mention. I really like JD. JD really looks like it wants to rip to the upside as well. So it's one of the Chinese names, right? So the Hang Seng Index is basically at all-time highs. BABA is ripping, right? Really, really ripped to the upside. Baidu really, really ripped to the upside. But JD, not so much, right? JD has a lot of room to the upside, similar to what AMD is looking like. So because JD is a Chinese name, Chinese stocks are doing well, JD looks like it could do well as well. So that's currently what I'm looking at. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have an amazing day. Thank you.